So I know from taking lessons with you that you have this particular way of approaching the melody of a vocal song, you know, that brings in the little nuances that make the song what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a singer and an instrumentalist, I have some sense of just how much complexity and richness that goes into a vocal melody. You know, the ornamentation, the way a vocalist slides around. It's the same with fiddle. You know, fiddle is able to mimic a lot of these slides in a way that mandolin, banjo, guitar, they can't do that as well. But I think it's always a great place to start. Just if you're going to play over a song, just to try to play. I know this sounds simple, but play the vocal melody. Most people don't do it. They'll play like a Cliff Notes version of the vocal melody, or maybe some phrasing of it, which is fine and good. But to really try to like learn as much of the detail and the ornamentation and the sliding of the melodies is really to get what you're doing on the instrument to reflect as accurately as possible what the voice is doing. And
yeah, for example.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Take a song like "On and On," just a great Bill Monroe standard. Just traveling down that long, lonesome highway, I'm so lonesome I could cry. So it's not da 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 da. It's like not like distinct note like you would play on a piano or or a mandolin. It's all about the traveling down. There's this contour to it. Long, lonesome highway. And just to slide into long, lonesome highway. You know, all the contour of that melody is so much part of the character of the song. So I would really like to try to start by trying to play that as accurately as I can. So traveling, or I'll sing it first. Traveling down that long, lonesome highway. Now some of these slides, like sliding from there to there, it's not always practical or even possible on the mandolin, but you just kind of get as many of them in there as you can. Then I'm so lonesome I could cry. So just really paying attention to the contour and like trying to get that to speak. And then now mandolin obviously you have very little sustain compared to the voice or fiddle. Got maybe a little bit more than a banjo, but anyhow. So this is very much in keeping with Monroe's style, is just to play the vocal melody with some ornamentation in there, but adding an eighth note pulse. So. Traveling down that long, lonesome highway, I'm so lonesome I could cry. And so it's really paying attention to the slides, and I'm not even adding any fills or any double stops at this point. And already you've got a you're certainly in the ballpark for playing a really legit bluegrass solo. And
that's sort of the flip side of this. Like the other side of it is how to use that vocal knowledge that you've learned to come back into your instrumental.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. All the best players and improvisers and singers will tell you you got to play the melody, you got to work with the melody. And I think a lot of people just don't really kind of have a concept of the sort of the details and the expression that goes into actually playing a vocal melody like it's sung. And it's definitely one of the benefits I see a lot of instrumentalists getting out of the bluegrass vocal school is just really being able to kind of understand more fully in the richness of ornamentation and contour that's part of these vocal songs. And then definitely your playing can very much benefit from working more of that in. So but I'll continue on kind of fleshing out the break a little bit of I'll add some double stops. So just another chord tone, 1, 3, 5, and then just. still sing with that. Still keeping that melody in there. So I mean, I'm supporting it. I'm adding eighth notes, adding a few other chord tones, but never straying from the melody. And then you can add some fill licks like I've been on a long, lonesome highway. I'm so lonesome I could cry. So just a little, yeah. You can have like a stock of like 4 or 5 like short little licks that you can put in like in a fill, like in between the vocal phrase, like when the vocalist is breathing. Good time for the mandolin to fill. Maybe like a little more involved fill at the end. So now, I mean, this is really a fully realized bluegrass solo, and I think there are a couple of things to note about this, especially for the instrumentalist, is that there's this idea that the bluegrass solo has got to be fancy and have a lot of notes in it, like, you know, you don't have to play all that stuff, because like the more ornamentation you get, the more of the nature of the vocal melody that you get in there, the fewer other notes seem necessary, you know, because like just really getting that vocal melody across, you know, and its nuance takes up a lot of space, and just all you really need is just like a little bit of eighth note, you know, stuff to carry it along. But you know, again, if you want to flesh that out, I mean, you can kind of add some lead-in lines. So instead of just starting on traveling down, you go traveling down this long, lonesome highway. I'm so lonesome I could cry a lick. And then like another memories of how we once loved each other, and now you are saying goodbye. That's a good Monroe thing right there. So anyhow, this is I always think always the best starting point for really playing a great break on a song. It's just, you know, really try to grasp the melody and its details.
I mean, I think what's interesting is almost everyone who's played for a while has had someone come up and tell them, hey, you know, you have to know the melody to play a break. And you kind of hear that, but I think a lot of people think that just means literally like know exact what notes play the melody, instead of thinking know how to play the melody so it sings. Put all the attention that Jimmy Martin put into singing it in the first place.
That's right. I will say though, you know, if you're in a jam situation and you know you don't have time to sit here and like work out a melody, you know, there's some things you can pick up on the melody that will still kind of bring its character through to some degree. Like you can pick up the phrasing of the melody. Like I can just do an accent, traveling down this long, so if you play other notes in that rhythm. And now we are saying bye. So I mean, there's something about the structure and the character of the melodies in there. And so even in a jam situation, if you're like hearing a melody for the first time, chances are you're going to be able to pick up on some aspect of the phrasing. But really, it is great to, like in your own practice, when you're you know, kind of sitting down by yourself, kind of working things out, you know, to pick a handful of vocal melodies that you can sing or really like, and you know, want to study, and really try to reproduce as much of that vocal detail on the instrument as you can, you know, so you'll learn you know, some new ways around the instrument too, because I mean, I think one of the main pitfalls of bluegrass picking, you hear this if you go to a festival, is like just so many of the same licks over and over again. You know, there's like you know, for each instrument kind of a relatively small kind of handful of licks that just kind of get played over and over again, and when people learn licks, and there's nothing wrong with learning licks, you need them to function, but like, you know, they have a way of kind of seeping into the muscle memory, and when you play them, you know, whatever the lick is, you know, it's like a habitual thing that you can just, your fingers just kind of know. And again, like, it's double-edged sword because you need it to some degree to function. But as soon as things on the instrument become, muscle memory, it's easy to kind of get separated from your ear, from really what you're hearing. And I mean, I think like really the ideal in studying an instrument, and like if I can reduce the study of music and an instrument to into one statement, it's just learning to play things that you hear in your head. So just if you're kind of approaching your instrument too habitual of a manner, and you feel like you're in a rut, like there's it's good to do things that sort of engage your ear, because everyone has natural hearing. You could like hum certain melodies back, and so learning to play vocal melodies and play melodies that you sing is, I think, just a really great way of sort of moving forward on the instrument, because it's opening that connection between, okay, I'm hearing something in my head, traveling down, and then you work it out. How does that come out on the instrument? Traveling down. And that's so crucial if you want to be an improviser and really kind of breathe life into what you're playing, because it really needs to come from the musical idea first, and your study of the instrument really needs to be learning to go in that direction. Like, I hear something, I conceive of it, and then I know something about how to express that thing that I'm hearing on the instrument.
Yeah, and I'll say, having studied with you, it not only did this practice, make me a better singer and a better player, but it also improved what I could hear. I mean, it really improved my ear. I mean, I went back to melodies. When I was listening so hard, I realized, oh, there's more there than I've ever heard. So it made me a better listener. It just made me enjoy
absolutely
vocals more.
Well, I've mostly just in my teaching, taught vocals and instruments together, and I think it's great because I think they help one another. I mean, if you study the vocal, and it kind of helps your instrumental playing kind of be more expressive, more vocal-esque, again, more connected to your ear, the other way around. I mean, like finding notes on the instrument can help your vocal pitch, and it's especially if you haven't done a lot of singing, it takes, when you sing, there are several things going on. I mean, there's hearing the thing that you're trying to sing, and then there's the kind of mechanical aspect of getting your voice to point at, actually reproduce the thing that you're hearing, and those are, kind of two different things. And so people who haven't done a lot of singing takes some training, just takes doing it a lot, to where you can take the thing that you're hearing in your head and get what's coming out of your mouth to match that, and be more or less in tune, or in tune enough for folk music. So having the instrument there, it kind of gives you a concrete place to like match your voice to, so it can really help going both ways. It helps your singing become more accurate, and it helps your playing become more melodic and more kind of expressive, more connected to your ear. So I'm hoping we get a lot of instrumental people who have been primarily instrumentalists come just kind of exploring the world of bluegrass vocals, and even if it starts out just helping their playing. I think a lot of people who do this will find that like, oh, hey, I can sing. I didn't think of myself as a singer, but hey, I can do this. I mean, I see that over and over again with my private students. People come to like, yeah, I want to learn mandolin or guitar, and from the very beginning, I get them singing, I get them doing ear training exercises, and that's maybe not what brought them in the door, but that, I think people quickly find that, oh, that's the thing that's helping me access what I already know, because everyone's got like a tremendous amount of intuitive knowledge of music, things that they hear in their head. And so I really see playing the instrument is really it's a process of getting where you can access the things you already hear, express those on the instrument. But then in that process, as you're saying, you start doing it more, you start to hear more clearly as well. Your hearing gets more detailed. So it's a back and forth process.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for talking with us.
Great, thank you.
Can't you hear the bluebirds singing? Can't you hear that mournful sound?